Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the next conversation with KG. Welcome to Know the Social Sector. Welcome, KG. We are excited to have you here.
Thanks, MS.
Those who don't know KG have been very amazing social entrepreneurs. He started his education with dairy technology and then went to IRMA for rural management. And that's where he started working on some of the, uh, amazing initiative that you might know in the social sector. One of them, which is something that I was very, very much excited to know more about while I was reading about KZ before coming to this podcast, is KZ actually initiated first women cooperative dairy union in Mulu, Kannur, and which is now 100 crore enterprise. And these are very exciting stuff that KZ have been doing. KZ is also have been consulting and have been in the policy making around FPO, women enterprises, and also have been working with the World Bank, Andhra Pradesh government, and central government Ministry of Agriculture. And currently is the MD and CEO at Access Livelihood. Very amazing, and we're excited to have you, KG. Why don't we
Thanks.
start with the journey, how the story of Access Livelihood, if you can talk around that, and we'll be deep diving.
Yeah, you have briefed up the entire career journey, but the way I would like the people who are listening to the podcast to recognize me is more in terms of, the work that I do with the women at the grassroots, where I'm deeply passionate about creating not-for-profits, which are, charitable in their focus, and at the same time create cooperatives or producer companies which are business enterprises, but business enterprises not just for making profits, but more to ensure essential services are delivered for the communities so that they can self-reliantly progress and develop themselves. So that's the way I would recognize myself. And as you rightly pointed out, Mulkanu Dairy was the first step. It's not that I happened to be the project head, but I was working with an organization called Cooperative Development Foundation at the time. And then the people there, both Mr. Rama Reddy and Shashi Rajagopalan, were a great mentors to me. And we could do something because there was an amazing team which all worked together to create the big enterprise. Right now, it does around 180 crores of business. Every day, they sell around 1 lakh liters. 21,000 women are part of that cooperative, and they have all experienced doubling or tripling of the income, which the Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, keeps talking about, that the rural wealth has to multiply. So it's a big symbol for that. And National Dairy Development Board, which is a government board, very actively supports them to nurture it and then further scale that up. Now, getting back to the question that you asked. So I started Access Livelihoods in 2005, of course, not alone. And I was really, happy to have a set of co-founders who were all from Institute of Rural Management. So they were all qualified. Three or four of us started together, and it was our dream to really replicate Amul as a model. India deserves to, of course, Amul now is very famous, and it's like largest dairy enterprise in the Asia, third largest in the world, and it has a turnover of around 25,000, 30,000 crores every year. And all of that money goes back to the farmers. So fundamentally, this is the biggest thing that we want. Like in any market, you will see there is a lot of intermediaries who are there, and obviously the producer ends up realizing very little. It's only in a model like Amul, the producer who works hard, toils throughout the year, ends up realizing 70-80% of what the consumer pays. So that was an inspiration. And so we all, four or five of us, came together and wanted to replicate that model. I don't say that we have really got to that level. There have been few successes. One success about which you have already spoken, and I have also elaborated. The other is the handloom initiative, which has been done with by the co-founder Vijaya Sutta. She is my life partner also, and together we have created a handloom intervention, which is we feel very clearly establishes doubling or tripling of income for women at the ground level. So that's been successful, and we are still struggling to fix a model or create a model in agriculture, which has been pretty tough. And there are a lot of challenges in this agriculture field. As we know, the farmers are under stress. Climate change is exasperating the things, and at the same time, soil fertility and soil moisture content, the key to variables for productivity in agriculture, are also in a stress situation. And farmers, because of the imports and exports, also face a lot of commodity market prices fluctuation. So all of these make agriculture really complex to succeed on. So our struggle continues, but we are really happy that we have been part of some very good work done by many team members, not just by us. And we could contribute something very effective to the country and especially to the women.
Great. And I think the work is very, very exciting from two perspective. One, I was looking at the number. You have 18,200 plus. I'm sure this data might be older one, but 18,000 plus women producers, which is again is a big, big scalable number, which has a livelihood impact. The second interaction that I had with Access Livelihood is I was working with Quest Alliance, and we hosted one social enterprise fellow named Himanshu Goyal. So both of us designed one young entrepreneurs program for Quest Alliance, which is now across states. So which actually the program designed for young women to start businesses, and that's a very success. And that's where wanted to know, how did you started these two fellowship programs, social enterprise program and the other Reimagine responsible enterprises, because these are not just fellowship, but the scale or the depth that these programs have, because these fellows at social enterprise also work with other non-profits, so helping them solve problem, understand, and maybe solve at the larger scale. So wanted to understand how did you arrive, or why do you thought these are the need, and maybe wanted to know insight around these two fellowships.
Yeah, so MS, like, I am really very pleased to know that you have already worked with one of our fellows, and then that's how you know us, which is very sweet. I mean, to hear at least, because this is what we want. We want new programs to be conceptualized by fellows, and with right mentorship, then there could be a lot of sectoral value addition that can happen, and which will benefit the communities. That's the whole idea of fellowship program. Uh, but before that, I just want to say that our numbers, as you rightly mentioned, 18,310 was what we were working with agriculture farmers at one particular point of time. Overall, in the last 19 years, we have been able to work with around 75,000 women directly and impact significantly them uh, through multiplier of income and better quality of life that they have been able to achieve. And in the recent past, every year we are almost servicing around 5 lakh women across 11 states. We are servicing, so I'm not saying we are impacting, but we are servicing around 5 lakh women. But there are around 10,000 entrepreneurs every year with whom we work, where I can be more sure about impact that we're able to generate with significant amount of income multiplier. That's the key for us, and which will improve the quality of life. So that's been the journey of Access Livelihoods. But while doing this journey in the 19 years, one thing we've realized is that as we are young, that was like I started my enterprise in 2005, and it's almost like 19, 20 years now, 20 years since I've started this organization. So back then, I was 30-year-old young graduate, like, with just 3, 4 years or 5 years experience in the field. And I wanted to do something like Amul at the, build up something like Amul. So therefore, as we moved along, and we've had our own ups and downs, challenges. This work is not easy. One should realize that it's not easy, If it was easy, then it would have happened by this time, right? 75, 80 years, we don't still would have these kind of numbers of poverty and all. So that's when we realized that we need young people to work with us to really create some innovative solutions, entrepreneurial solution, rather than, completely be dependent on only grants, but create entrepreneurial solutions which can actually self-sustain and create change at the grassroots level. And then we looked around for inspiration. And we saw that by that time, Teach for India was a very large brand. And we were very impressed by the model, that how they have been able to significantly, pull in 500 to 600 young graduates every year, push them on one single agenda, which is, every child deserves a high quality education. And then later on, we got to know about Gandhi Fellowship. Gandhi Fellowship also at that time was scaled up, and it was working with government schools, whereas Teach for India was working with private schools in urban areas. Gandhi Fellowship was working with government schools in rural areas, and doing the same thing, which is how do we improve the quality of education that is available for children. So we were inspired, and we said that this model is also relevant for livelihoods. And one of the constitutional promise is to create dignified livelihoods for everybody. It's a constitutional promise.
Right.
And unfortunately, India is still continuing to face a lot of challenge in terms of offering that solution and giving a constitutional guarantee to everybody in the country, especially to the women. So that's when we realized that if we get inspired by Teach for India and Gandhi Fellowship and create a similar kind of a model, which is slightly, it's slightly reimagined in terms of, there are certain innovative elements that we have brought in beyond what Teach for India and Gandhi Fellowship is doing. And then we conceptualized these two fellowship programs. Initially, we were doing only the 2-year program, but we realized the intensity of 2-year program is for only those who are already experienced and who are very clear in their mind that they want to be in the social enterprise network. So then we conceptualized in 2020, in 2017, we started the 2-year program, 16-17. And 2020 and 2021, we started the 13-month RRE, Reimagine Responsible Entrepreneurship Program. So that's how we started. So the inspiration was Teach for India and Gandhi Fellowship. And then we wanted to, this mission that, dignified livelihoods is a fundamental right for every citizen in India. And we need to reach that. The government is doing a lot of work, but civil society has to do its own work to ensure that everybody gets their dignified livelihoods. So with this, we started.
Great. Very, I'll say those who want to get into social sector and wanted to work around livelihood or want to start social enterprises, the social enterprise program is something that you should definitely look at. And I have personally witnessed the impact and the scale that this program has. KG, most of the people who are watching now are youth or someone who is keen to get into social sector. And looking at the calendar, it's May 2025. There are applications open for both the fellowships. So while if someone want to get into social enterprise program or Reimagine responsible enterprises, what is something that you look for while selecting fellows?
So ours is a 13-month program and a 24-month program. What we can view is technical skills and also probably help them to get some good mindset. Most of the higher education programs, they lack practical orientation. They are all classroom based with very little. Even if a management institute offers some traineeships, it's probably for 2 months or 3 months. So the practical orientation in post-graduation education is almost nil. So what we thought was that whatever is absent in the current post-graduation education, we should create that in the fellowship programs. And we should focus. So therefore, the first thing that we derived was entrepreneurial skills are not something which are focused in, whether it is in management program or a social work program or in an MSc agriculture or all of this. So these are not focused. People are becoming having great technical know-how, but how do we convert that into an enterprise is not something which is being taught or is not being guided or mentored in the post-graduation. So that was the first gap that we noticed. The second gap we noticed was that practical orientation is required if you want entrepreneurial skills to be embedded in an individual. So unlike traditional technical know-how, Practical skills means that you have to actually go onto the ground and do sales. You have to do marketing. You have to get accounting into your knowledge. You have to look at how enterprises run in a holistic way. You learn how teams were managed in a practical way, not in a theoretical way or looking at just frameworks. So the practical knowledge was a key emphasis. Therefore, fellowship model was a interesting model where 75% of our time was on practical know-how, and 25% time still we strengthen the knowledge through theoretical session, or what we call as facilitated learning. The third thing that happened was, which we found very interesting and through research, is that most of the people who fail, they are not failing because they lack skills in the this one. So they're failing because of the mindsets, and building mindsets and a spirit within them is the most key. So when you say what are we looking at when fellows are really wanting to apply, I said we are looking for individuals who can actually value these three propositions that we are having: practical post-graduation education, second, be passionate about the cause, and the third is to look at a holistic learning model where we are not just focused on skills, but we are also focused on creating a mindset and a spirit within an individual. So when we say 13 months and 24 months, usually we cannot, suddenly inject the spirit and passion in the individual. So one of the most key factors that we look at is that we want individuals who are really passionate about the purpose to join us. And therefore, what we do is we look at people who have already experienced volunteering, people who are already servicing at the ground level, people who have done NCC and NSS, those who have actually have this inclination of service, people who have been associated with Ramakrishna Mission or something like that. So or their parents are in the NGO sector or not-for-profit sector, or a person comes up with an idea which is very strongly, they feel that it will change the course of the country, especially communities at the different level, tribal communities, they're still far outreach from the mainstream. So these are the kind of individuals that we are trying to look. We don't claim that in a 13-month or a 24-month we can totally transform the people, but we do our efforts, and we want to pick up the signals that they're truly interested in the design. They're interested in the fellowship program, and they're passionate about the social cause to be joining us.
Also, these are very exciting fellowships. So, while I know social enterprise program, the fellow work with other non-profits, they are placed with different non-profits and they work on some problems. Does that happens with Reimagine responsible enterprises as well? I mean, fellows are placed with other non-profits in the ecosystem, or
Yes. Both the fellowships, as I said, they are more practice oriented. That means they have to be on field and doing the work. And as they do the field, we call this as a reflective practice learning. So we use something called a Scopes learning cycle. In the Scopes learning cycle, the key thing is that adults learn. By the time they are graduates and they're looking at postgraduate, you're already at 21 years, 20 years, 22 years. By the time the adults, they would like to learn. They don't passively want to learn sitting in a classroom. The way they learn is by active experimentation at the ground. And that's what we want to simulate. It's almost like if you want to become a pilot, you have some 5,000 hours of flying hours which you have to clock before you become a commercial pilot or any this one. So similarly, we believe every entrepreneur has to do a little bout of practice. So in 13-month fellowship, what we do is we have 20 courses during the first 1 month in the facilitated learning, where there are facilitators who are really experienced as entrepreneurs who come and take sessions. But after that 1 month, they are there in the field for 12 months. They have a mentor in the field. They have a partner, a not-for-profit or a social enterprise. Then they choose a sector depending on their interest. Some choose agriculture, some choose waste management. Somebody else chooses horticulture. Somebody else may choose weaving. Somebody chooses a craft sector. So depending on their interest, they choose a sector. They choose a partner organization, and they get placed in that particular this one along with a mentor. Like you are a mentor to the Himanshu Goyal. There is a mentor who is chosen.
Parallelly on the problem was not mentor.
Yeah.
Himanshu.
Okay. So there must have been somebody who has been mentoring it. Yes. Yeah. So there is a mentor from the not-for-profit and or a social enterprise, and there is this fellow who have to practically solve issues at the ground. So that's a 13-month program. In the 24-month program, we have 8 months of facilitated learning. It's a fairly longer one. We have almost 40 courses which they undergo, and with an intensity, a substantial intensity, with 15 sessions, each session being around 1.5 hours for 40 courses. After that, they get 16 months at the ground. Again, there will be a field mentor, and there is another one. Usually, the CEO or the head of the social enterprise also gets involved once in a while, and they mentor the individual to practice the managerial entrepreneurial skills which they have learned during the program. So in both the cases, it's very clear. It's a practice-oriented program. 75% of the time, they have to be in the field.
So I'm sure this is something that those who want to get into social sector and intending for transition from corporates, this is something that if you want to work on any sort of thematic, there is no other fellowships than these two. I think these are the right, and the applications are open. Generally, KZ, if someone did the fellowship, so I only know about Himanshu, say, what he started after the fellowship, but in generally, the fellows, once their fellowships are done, do they start their own enterprises, or generally what are the career pathways looks like for the fellows?
Yes. So, the purpose of these two programs are totally different. So, the 13-month program is more an exposure to the field and sector. I have an inclination, but I'm not sure. I'm confused, and I'm not clear whether this is the sector that I want to work. Is it a lonely path? Does it really take care of my family and my needs, financial needs? There will be a lot of these kind of questions for young people. And when they are not, and is the field work really going to be tough? And am I capable of delivering? So all of these questions will be there. If you are such a kind of a young graduate, then we suggest that you go through a 13-month program, which is more tailored for the exposure. The 24-month program is really for people who have 1 or 2 years of experience, who have made up their mind that service and social sector and the social enterprise model is what they would like to take. Then they go into something like I call them as social commandos. You go through a commando training, almost rigorous, very rigorous commando training, and you have to be absolutely sure that you want to take this program. We take 20 people in this particular 2-year program, and this is, in this case, the end output is you have to become an entrepreneur. That's what we prefer. Now, in both the cases, the 13-month program, because it's a exposure-led program, the end result is a job in one of the social enterprise or a not-for-profit. So usually they get the stipend that they get is around 18,000 with a completion incentive of 30,000 rupees, which is another 3,000 or 4,000 per month, and excellence incentive of 50,000 rupees. Around 3 lakhs, 3.2 lakhs is what goes to the individual during the learning phase. At the end of the program, what we are seeing is people are getting jobs with a salary of around 25,000 to 30,000 very easily per month.
Right.
So there is a jump, right? You just, within 13 months, you started 18,000 rupees as a stipend, but you reach around 25 to 30,000. Some of them exceptional doing well, they also get 35,000 to 40,000 rupees, right? And I don't want to, camouflage or tell only the big figures. I want an average individual, what the average individual is getting. Now, if you look at the 24-month program, I've seen a lot of youngsters who are really setting up their own enterprise. And those who want to set up enterprises, we help them through a handholding process, which is for the next 3 to 5 years. So they complete the 2-year program, and if they want to set up an enterprise, we are there with them for 3 to 5 years, helping them set up the enterprise. But if you don't, and some of them also do it, around 50-60% of them, they don't take up the entrepreneurship cycle immediately. What they do is that they would say another 2-3 years of work experience, I build a small corpus of 5 to 10 lakhs, then I start an enterprise. That's what they take. So in that case, they get jobs, and jobs usually they're getting very good jobs, 60,000 to 70,000 rupees, and even higher. But I don't want to quote the higher figures, but I'm okay to quote average figures which are there.
Great. I think very interesting. And those who are watching, if you're keen on these two fellowships, We are adding the links in the description, and we are excited. If you have any questions, etc., we'll be adding an email ID so you can reach out to the team. KG, I have a last question, and this is one of my favorite question that I ask the CEOs or the entrepreneurs is you have 2 decades experience in exposure to the ecosystem, and there are if I look at these 2 decades, so many things changed from, say, being Jhola Chaf non-profits to full-fledged career in non-profit. So, and then in between there are CSR laws that are coming in, and then the whole ecosystem growing. So those who want to start their career in social sector, do you have, I mean, what advice would you like to give to the youngster who want to start their career in social sector?
When I was young, right, when I was in the Institute of Rural Management, I was always inspired by the model of Amul, and Dr. Verghese Kurian was still alive at that time, right? And we had the good fortune of interacting with him.
Mhm.
I hope everybody knows that he is the milkman of India and person behind White Revolution. It's the largest development program in the world ever successful. So it's the most successful program. India became milk surplus. Almost 180 federations were organized in the country. Amul grew to become this one. So uh, it's a tremendous commitment we have seen from Dr. Verghese Kurian to shape up the future of Indian farmers, especially in the dairy sector. So coming from that kind of an inspiring background, what I realized over a period of time is that, and when I was in INIMA, there used to be a professor from IIM Calcutta, S.K. Chowdhury, who had done a lecture for us. The title of the lecture is very interesting. It says that career versus cause.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes on to tell one beautiful thing, that if you are in the social sector, the first thing that you have to decide is how deeply passionate I'm about the cause. Once I'm deeply passionate about a particular cause, in our case, we want to work with women producers, right? Women who are struggling and who are producers, and help them to have better quality of life, not just income. Income is just a beginning. We, of course, want better income, but along with income, we want better quality of life for them. If one is able to picturize crystal clearly such a kind of a cause in their mind, then there is nothing. If you just look at our story, we had 500 rupees or, probably 5,000 rupees, all of us put together when we started this enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
But in the last 20 years, we have been able to handle around 200 crores of money, and we've all paid ourselves good salaries. Yeah, when we started, we used to pay 40,000 rupees for ourselves. And today I get around 1.5 lakhs or 1.6 lakhs. So in 20 years, it has grown 4 times. It may not have grown as it would have grown probably in a corporate sector, but I don't have any regrets because I'm very happy that along with the growth in my remuneration and salary, I'm very confident and happy that we have been able to do something for 75,000 women. Not everything, but at least something which helped them to really grow. So that's why I say that the foremost thing that anybody who decides to join the social sector is that they should have a cause around which they are really passionate. Once that is fixed, then money, name, everything will come. We've got big awards. We've been awarded by Government of India as the best incubator in the country in 2021 by Ministry of Industries and Commerce. We've been awarded for the best innovation in the rural services by Ministry of Rural Development. Then we've also been recognized as an established incubation center by the Ministry of the Niti Aayog.
Mm-hmm.
Before year, we were also invited by Ministry of External Affairs to replicate our model in Malawi along with German government. So there is enough recognition, enough money, and everything. So, but I think the clear focus is on how we are able to really do the work and what is the passion that we have. Yeah.
Very relatable. Yeah. Thank you so much, KG, for your time and for the conversation. These conversation, I'm sure, will be helping people to decide, and we keep on inviting more and more people to the social sector and explore career with us in the ecosystem. Thank you, KG, for your time and interaction.
Thanks, MS. It was wonderful to have an interaction. At any time you wish to do a longer one, I'm happy to have a longer podcast also done. Yes, and we will just use it for the betterment for everybody, greater understanding. I just really don't want to talk only about the fellowships. I want to talk about the sector and why every young graduate should see it as a very great pathway to serve others and yet live happily. Right? There's a great amount of satisfaction that you derive when you work in the institution sector, and I want this happiness to be discovered by many more young graduates. So I am happy to discuss about in general, not just about fellowships. So whenever you feel
Definitely,
ready, happy to. Yeah,
you have amazing experience, and I'm sure there are more and more stories. We haven't
a
spoken
lot of stories.
detail about what changed with the women who are women producers, what happened,
Yeah,
what is the impact at scale. So we'll definitely set
yeah,
up more such conversation which are longer, which are not kept at maybe in and out with a time
yeah.
bound manner. So,
Yes, yes,
but great speaking to you.
yes.
Thank you, KG. We'll
Thanks,
be
thank you,
catching up
thank
soon.
you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.